You know, they're looking at everything, and they have portals into, backdoors into all of the social media and other stuff. And, you know, a guy like Snowden comes out and does what Snowden did, which was to like reveal all of this, that who they're monitoring and how they're monitoring, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, you have people running around holding up signs outside in the parking lot, NSA, going, "F NSA." And my point is like, whoa, time out. But first of all, they don't care what kind of porn you're looking at as long as it's legal porn. And they don't care, like, you know, what you're doing for shopping or any of those things. They don't care. They're not selling your data. They couldn't care less. They're looking for bad guys. Now, if you're on the internet doing something that they can tie to something else that's bad, that's against the law, that's human trafficking or drug trafficking or terrorist, you know, development or funding or anything else, that's what they're looking for. In Snowden's movie, which I could barely watch, they turned around and said something like, "We're monitoring twice the number of people in the United States than we are in Russia or China." And people all sat around going, "Oh my God, well, look at that, look at that." And here's the truth of that. You goddamn better hope that that's what they're doing. The reason they're looking at twice the number of people in the United States is because this is the place where the most imminent attack could create the most highest level of destruction. So they're looking for twice as many things here. And here's the other thing. Do not assume, like is presented to you by Oliver Stone in that movie. His always out is he says, "I begin with a basis of fact beyond which I speculate heavily." And people never hear him say that, but he says that. So he creates the movie to the flair that he wants to be. First of all of Snowden's guys around him when he was in Hawaii, they weren't supportive of him. They weren't supportive of him. And when you turn around and say, we're looking at twice as the number of Americans as we are of Russians or Chinese, well, that's a misstatement. You have no idea how, of the 5 million people that are being looked at, what makes you think that they are all automatically US citizens, right? They're just people that have internet accounts or social media accounts or phones or something else. You don't make that stupid assumption like you're spoon-fed by, you know, Oliver Stone in that movie. That you have no idea how many of the 5 million are Americans and how many are not. But you better hope that they're looking at twice as many people here, because it could be somebody next door or somebody that walks into a restaurant and throws a hand grenade, you know, or something else that could be around and could be looming on the horizon for us. And then the other question I have for people that cheerlead Snowden is, what do you think he's doing now? He's over there. Well, Putin gave him citizenship. So do you think that he went over there and then Putin said, I'll give you sanctuary here from your government? Do you want to be a painter? Do you want to be a farmer?
Right.
How would you like to go work in a tractor factory? You know, how would you like to go do something? If you think that that's what Putin did,
no,
and giving Snowden safe harbor,
right.
What he did was he turned around, Snowden said, "I'll let you stay here, but you're going to do for us what you did for them. And if you don't do for us what you did for them, we're going to put you on the first thing smoking back to Washington, D.C., and we're going to call your Justice Department and let them know you're on the way. And they'll meet you on the tarmac when you land."
Can I ask, I've never seen the movie. My world during the Snowden time, I think I was playing in Azerbaijan, potentially. Was that 2013-ish, something? It was around that time, right? Okay. Well, let me throw this at you. The backlash, and I don't know Snowden's case very well, like I just said, but I know that a lot of the backlash, this is the first time I've ever heard someone mention the fact that one of the reasons for having a closer look at Americans or people within America's borders is because you have to pay attention to, obviously, attack from inside. We were all shocked by 9/11. That happened inside, and that was a big shock to the nation, et cetera. So it does make sense in that, obviously, you can't go monitor everyone over there somewhere else in the hopes that you'll prevent them.
Yeah, they monitor them, of course, over there, but the biggest concern is what's
right already gotten in, if there is an issue. Yeah. Okay. Then I'm gonna throw you the other arguments that I know are most common and potentially that have been there to help us understand. When I hear the backlash for the surveillance programs, number one, the first, Americans are generally surprised at what's going on because we as civilians don't have any understanding of what's going on. Number two, it's even if they don't care about whatever they're doing, whether they're smoking weed in their house or they're, drinking or whatever it is, they don't see why they should be, let's say, under suspicion. And two, what happens if, right? We all hope that everyone who has the keys to the castle is noble and respectful and wanting to do the right things. The worry, if I understand it correctly, is of course with this much power, and power corrupts or has a tendency to corrupt. Why are we live in a time now where people they're very, let's say, suspicious of the people who do hold that power. That probably did start with that Snowden time. It has evolved into what it is today, where there's a lot of suspicion about whether that's not necessarily from the military, but from the government and government institutions. I would say there's a backlash on, okay, well, what, why, and how come? And so, what do you think? Are you to say, because we've had Andrew Bustamante on as well, kind of towed a similar line. Are we as civilians supposed to feel or just accept the like it's done? Privacy was never there. Privacy is not there, and this is the privacy that you will accept to live in one of the greatest nations as far as safety and prosperity that's ever been around.
I have difficulty with premise of individuals within our country who think that the government should not have the access that it has. That
to privacy things. What specifically before? Because I don't want you to.
Yeah, it typically the privacy issue. It's like you're all upset that the NSA does that, but nobody's upset that Google does that.
Aren't they the same?
Or
Aren't
Amazon.
They quote unquote the same thing? Don't they have access?
Absolutely not.
There's
no. The government has backdoor access to those because they require it. And they have backdoor access because if there is a human trafficking cell to stay with the biggies, right? Weapons, drugs, and humans. Okay. And if they're looking at a human trafficking cell that happens to be working around in Facebook, don't tell me you trust Facebook to monitor that, because you'd be an idiot if that's what you did. So yeah, they're in there looking around for that kind of stuff, but they're looking for criminal activity. They don't give a damn what you're doing, posting birthday pictures or new girlfriend pictures. They couldn't care less, unless your new girlfriend happens to be, one of the daughters of Osama bin Laden. Then they might, but they're going to pay some attention to that. But they don't care about that. Facebook is mining your information 24/7 for profit and selling it, as is Google, as is Amazon, as is every other social media engine and platform that you put your name out there on and work on and exchange stuff. They are collecting on you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they are selling it. And they're selling it to the highest bidder. Don't you dare think that who they're selling it to are nobody but American companies. They're selling it to China. They're selling it to Russia. They're selling it to Cuba, to Koreans, and Cuba too, just sitting 90 miles off the coast, is out there. They have now turned into one of the biggest and most successful miners of U.S. personal data and intelligence data, snagging it right out of everything that they can and turning around and packaging it and selling it to China and selling it to Russia and selling it to anybody else who wants it, for that matter. So if you want to be pissed off about something, be pissed off about the social media platforms. It's like tranches.
Isn't that the danger, though? It's like, isn't that, because just to follow it up,
that's a horrible.
But yeah, the danger. Yeah. But does the danger lie? And I guess it's a philosophical question, one which we can't truly get to the fruit of. Does it matter whether or not the privacy is coming from, or the loss of privacy is coming from corporations or from NSA?
One is for profit and the other is for protection. The other is to protect you. NSA is not harvesting data to sell. It's harvesting data, or collecting data that it feels is significant to one line of investigation or one, tracking something. And if you understood the magnitude of this web in the onion, of all of this evil that exists out there, you have no idea. You're standing in an elevator, and we all have this idea that everything around us is just copacetic, and all the people in this elevator are just going somewhere to work, and it's all good. But the truth of it is that you have no idea. You have no idea. Somebody in there could have just murdered somebody last night, standing right next to you in an elevator, or you're right, or could be a pedophile who just spent the morning, looking for a little girl or a little boy that they were going to have for the weekend. You have no idea. But you have to trust that a government agency that's looking at it, don't you want somebody looking for that? I do. I want to know that somebody is on the ball, somebody is doing the work, and they're doing it constantly to find that kind of thing. I know that whoever's doing that, they're not collecting my data for sale. They're doing what they're doing to protect all of us and to protect innocence.